At 5:11 a.m. local time, the first alert slices through the cockpit before either pilot says a single word. It is sharp, electronic, and instantly out of place. The AH-64 Apache is already flying low over the Strait of Hormuz, skimming above the dark blue water with the kind of precision that allows no room for mistakes. Below, the sea is calm enough to mirror the faint early light. Cargo ships move through the narrow channel like floating walls. Heat shimmer hangs above the surface. Straight ahead, the horizon looks clear. To the left, only open distance. To the right, the edge of real danger. Then a second alert hits. Captain Reeves never takes his eyes off the flight path. His gloved hands stay locked on the controls as the helicopter holds its fast, low line over the water. Beside him, Chief Warrant Officer Mercer drops his gaze to the sensor display and goes still for half a beat. Air contact. Fast. He widens the feed. Then he spots another, and another, then a fourth. The cockpit does not become louder, it becomes tighter. The Apache's twin engines maintain a hard, steady growl as the aircraft pushes forward, rotor blades tearing through the humid air with raw mechanical force. The helicopter is set up for armed overwatch, not for a clean aerial engagement over open water. Its nose-mounted sensor is searching. Its chain gun waits beneath the fuselage. Hellfire sits silent on the stubs, but the contacts closing in now are small, low, and moving with a purpose that leaves very little doubt. Mercer locks onto the lead object as it races in from the northeast, barely above the surface. It is too fast for a civilian drone, too steady for random traffic, too deliberate to be background clutter. Another contact climbs higher behind it, offset as if supporting the approach. The other two spread wider, drifting outward before curving back toward the Apache's track. Not a loose pattern, a setup. 4 drones, Mercer says, his voice flat. Possible armed configuration. Reeves banks 2 degrees left, just enough to break the geometry without sacrificing too much speed. He keeps the nose down. Climbing would place the helicopter against the brightening sky. Staying low hides it in the visual noise of the water, but it also compresses every second. There is no space to drift, no space to hover, no time to hesitate. The strait suddenly feels narrow. Below, a merchant ship pushes through the channel, its wake stretching white behind it. Farther ahead, off the port side, another vessel moves slowly, massive enough to turn the waterway into a corridor of steel. The Apache is now boxed in by sea traffic, restricted airspace, and 4 fast-moving drones closing with obvious intent. Mercer slews the sensor again. The lead drone flashes across the screen for an instant. Dark body, fixed wings, clean outline, no uncertainty. Confirmed threat. After that, nobody wastes words. The first drone charges in low and fast from the right front quarter. Reeves drops the Apache down and left in one sharp motion. Rotor tips bite into the air as the helicopter dips closer to the sea. Spray kicks up below them. Warning tones pulse again. Mercer keeps tracking, trying to hold the target inside the sensor box, but the drone is small and the background is all glare and motion. Right side, closing. Reeves snaps the aircraft level, then harder left. The move is aggressive but controlled, built on training pushed to instinct. The drone flashes across the nose at frightening speed, close enough for both men to see it with their own eyes. No longer just a mark on a screen, but a real machine with a clear purpose. It misses by seconds, barely. Mercer swings the gun. The Apache's M230 chain gun erupts in a short, violent burst. Recoil shudders through the frame. Tracers tear across the air where the drone had been, but the target is already gone, slipping past the helicopter and vanishing behind them. Lost one. Tracking too high. Another contact is climbing, and that one worries Mercer more. The higher drone is not diving in for impact, it is observing, adjusting, giving the others a cleaner angle. The remaining pair widen even farther, stretching the Apache's field of view and forcing the crew to decide what to track and what to risk. Reeves reaches for the flare dispense and hits it once. Flares burst from the helicopter and trail behind in bright, burning arcs against the dim morning sky. There is still no clean missile tone, no certainty about exactly what these drones are carrying. But at this speed and this altitude, certainty is a luxury that has already disappeared. The helicopter surges ahead. Mercer catches the third drone for half a second as it comes in from the left side, low and fast, skimming so close to the water that its shadow flickers across the chop. The fourth stays farther back, high enough to guide, patient enough to wait. This is coordinated. This is not pressure. It is not a warning move. It is a direct attempt to bring them down. The lead drone swings wide for another pass. The second angles inward from above. Mercer's display fills with crossing lines, threat cues, unstable returns. Reeves keeps the aircraft low, threading every move through the smallest available gap between ships, sea, and sky. The Apache is still flying, still armed, still in the fight. But now the other side has rhythm. Mercer zooms in once more on the nearest target. This time, the image sharpens just long enough. He catches the shape beneath the fuselage. He sees the mounting point. He sees enough. "Armed drone," he says. "No question." Reeves does not answer. He rolls the Apache into a harder bank as the first real attack run begins. Ahead, the Strait of Hormuz narrows into a corridor of steel and light. Behind them, 4 drones close in, and above the water at 5:11 in the morning, the confrontation truly begins, by 5:13 a.m. Local time, the first attack run has not really ended. It has simply reset, and that is what makes it so dangerous. The AH-64 Apache is still flying low over the Strait of Hormuz, engines pulling hard, rotor wash shredding the morning air into a violent blur above the sea. Captain Reeves keeps the aircraft just high enough to stay off the surface, just low enough to deny the drones a clean outline. Every correction is minimal. Every second counts. There is no altitude to spend, no safe direction to climb, and no room for error inside a channel this tight. Beyond the cockpit glass, the sea is no longer scenery. It is a boundary. Chief Warrant Officer Mercer drags the sensor back across the sky and catches the nearest contact reappearing off the right rear quarter. The drone that overshot them has already come around. It is not leaving. It is coming back. It is lining up for another pass. Right rear, low and fast. Before Reeves can respond, Mercer catches the second drone dropping from above. High contact, descending. A 2-direction attack changes everything. One drone stays low, forcing the helicopter to brake sideways. Another comes from above, threatening a steep dive. The other 2 hold farther out, keeping enough distance to either close in at the right moment or continue shaping the attack. This is not chaotic, it is calculated. Whoever launched these drones designed the strike to divide the Apache's attention and shrink its reaction window. Over land, Reeves might have used terrain, structures, or elevation to break the pattern. Out here, above open water, there is nothing to hide behind except speed and movement. The first drone charges in from starboard, skimming so low that its outline flickers against the glare rolling off the sea. Reeves banks left, then snaps level just as the second contact drops in from high off the port side. The helicopter jolts hard enough to send loose vibration through the frame. Alarm tones pulse one after another. Mercer loses both tracks for a fraction of a second, reacquires the higher one, then swings the turret back to the lower threat. "Take the low one," Reeves says. Mercer is already there. The M230 chain gun erupts beneath the nose in a short, controlled burst. 30mm rounds tear through empty air, then begin walking closer. The drone jerks sideways at the last instant, not random, deliberate. It slips the burst by only a few feet and keeps coming with chilling discipline. Reeves drops the nose and banks again. The Apache sinks closer to the water than either man wants, close enough for rotor wash to shred the surface into ragged white patterns. Farther ahead, a tanker fills part of the forward view, turning the channel into an even tighter cage. The drone flashes past the helicopter's right side, missing again, but only after forcing the Apache lower and farther away from its preferred line. The second drone reacts immediately. It dives from above the left side, steep and fast, trying to strike while Reeves is still recovering from the first break. Mercer picks it up late, swings the gun upward, and fires another burst. This time, the tracers connect. The drone jerks. One wing rips away. For a split second, it continues on pure momentum, body twisting violently before cartwheeling into the water and erupting in a hard white-orange flash just off the Apache's tail. One down! Mercer does not sound triumphant. He sounds busy, because 3 drones are still out there, and now they know the helicopter can hit back. The surviving drones do not scatter, they adjust. One climbs higher, staying outside the chain gun's easiest firing window. Another slides far left, nearly disappearing into the haze above the sea. The third drives straight in from behind, low and aggressive, as if willing to trade itself for distance. Lost visual on left contact. Keep the rear one. I'll force the brake. Reeves throws the Apache into a tight turn that would feel manageable in open air and punishing over water. The aircraft shudders as the blades bite hard. Mercer sees the rear drone closing on the sensor feed. Small, dark, steady, growing larger far too fast. There is still no missile warning. No clean signal explaining exactly what the drone is carrying or how it plans to strike. That uncertainty may be the worst part. It forces the crew to defend against everything at once. Reeves punches flares again. Bright fire spills behind the helicopter in a staggered trail, dropping toward the sea. The pursuing drone does not break off. It keeps coming. Mercer waits a fraction longer than instinct wants, letting the target fill more of the sight picture. Then he fires. The chain gun hammers in measured bursts. Water erupts behind the drone. Some rounds pass over it. Then one burst lands close enough to upset its balance. It wobbles, but it does not fall. Still flying. The Apache surges ahead, threading the gap between its own turbulent wake and the merchant traffic looming in front of it. Reeves cannot outrun the drones. All he can do is distort the angles, deny a clean intercept, and buy a few more seconds. Mercer slews the sensor left. There, the contact he lost is back. It is racing in low from port now, nearly in sync with the damaged drone still pressing from behind. The formation has reshaped into a pincer. One from the rear, one from the side, one above, still waiting. The cockpit feels smaller. Reeves yanks the helicopter right, trying to spoil the side attacker's lead. Mercer fires left across the nose, rounds streaking so close to the canopy line that the sound turns into a metallic roar. The low drone tears through the burst too fast for a confirmed hit. Then it vanishes beneath the field of view. A split second later, something detonates off the Apache's aft quarter. It is not a direct impact, but it is close enough. The whole helicopter lurches as if a giant hammer has slammed into the tail boom. Warning lights flare across the panel. One caution flashes, then another. The aircraft yaws sharply before Reeves wrestles it back under control. Damage! We took something! Mercer's eyes jump across the instruments, then back outside. Hydraulics still responding, engines still pulling, rotor still holding. The Apache is wounded, but it is still in the air. Behind them, one drone burns on the water. Ahead of them, 3 more are still pressing the attack. And inside the cockpit, both men realize the same thing at the exact same moment. This is no longer about avoiding contact. It is about staying alive long enough for help to reach them. At 5:15 a.m. local time, the distress call reaches the nearest U.S. warship in fragments. Not because the Apache crew is unclear, but because everything is happening at once. Inside the Combat Information Center, voices remain calm, quiet, and exact. Radar screens glow in the dim light. Surface tracks move steadily across the displays. Merchant traffic fills the channel in a dense pattern. Then one watchstander isolates the transmission on the tactical net. Broken words, clipped coordinates, altitude, heading, damage report. Apache engaged, multiple hostile drones, 3 remaining. The room changes instantly, not in volume, in focus. A radar operator leans in, tightening the filter to pick out low, fast-moving air contacts skimming just above the water. Another pulls up the Apache's recent track. A third aligns the sensor data with the helicopter's last known heading. What looked like random clutter a moment ago begins to resolve into something deliberate. Small returns, hard to lock, moving too fast and too directly to ignore. Possible low flyers, bearing 340. Correlate with airborne call. Correlated. The tactical action officer doesn't waste time. Mark as hostile pending visual confirmation. Support the helicopter. Out over the strait, the Apache stays low, still damaged, still under pressure. Captain Reeves holds a shallow right bank, balancing speed with the need to keep the drones from settling into a perfect line behind him. Every vibration in the airframe now feels stronger. The earlier blast changed how the aircraft responds. Nothing critical yet, but no one mistakes being airborne for being safe. Chief Warrant Officer Mercer sweeps the sensor back across the horizon. Rear contact still there. High contact offset left, lost third. He finds it again almost instantly. Low and wide, staying just outside the gun's reach until the last possible moment. The drones are no longer rushing. They are adapting, and that makes the next moments even more dangerous. On the warship, the picture sharpens. A mass-mounted sensor locks onto one of the drone tracks with better clarity. The operations team overlays heading, speed, and possible intercept points. Another ship farther out acknowledges the contact and turns its sensors toward the channel. The network is forming. This is no longer a single unit reacting alone. Multiple U.S. assets are building a shared, real-time picture of the situation. And in that moment, the Apache is no longer just an aircraft in trouble. It becomes the center of a coordinated response. Helicopter, this is Warship 01. We have your track. Continue heading 085. Report damage status. Reeves answers without looking down. Controllable, still engaged, 3 drones remaining. Inside the Combat Information Center, that is exactly what they needed to hear. The aircraft is still maneuvering, still armed, still able to respond. That means the situation can be shaped. A fire control operator refines the nearest air track. Another slews electro-optical sensors toward the sector where one drone climbed higher. A pattern begins to emerge quickly. One of the drones may be acting as a spotter or relay, staying out of reach while guiding the others. That matters, because if one is guiding, it is also revealing behavior. High contact loitering, possible controller assist. Copy, hold him. Back in the Apache, Mercer hears the radio again. Stand by for advisory. 1 contact 6 o'clock low, 1 10 o'clock high, 1 wide port. For the first time since this started, they are not fighting blind. Reeves nudges the helicopter 2 degrees right, using the call-out to tighten the rear drone's angle. Mercer pivots left and catches the wide port contact climbing slightly before turning back in. It is setting up another crossing run. Visual, port contact reacquired. He lines up the gun and waits. No wasted shots. Every round has to count. The rear drone commits first, taking the simplest path. A direct chase against a damaged helicopter with limited room to maneuver. Reeves holds steady longer than instinct suggests, trusting the wider picture coming from the ship. Mercer keeps the target centered, breathing slow, letting it grow in the sight. Now! Reeves snaps the helicopter left. Mercer fires. The burst tears through the air as the drone crosses into it. For a split second, nothing changes. Then the target shudders, rolls hard, and slams into the water in a spray of debris and flame. Splash 1. No reaction. No pause. Because the other two move immediately. The high drone drops lower, no longer content to observe. The portside drone tightens its turn and accelerates. For a few seconds, both converge from different angles and altitudes, forcing the Apache into another split-second decision. Back in the CIC, the radar updates again. A signals operator picks up a directional electronic trace tied to the area where the drones first appeared. It is not confirmed. Not yet. But it suggests something more than just targets. A source. A possible control corridor. The tactical action officer sees it instantly. Whoever launched the drones is beginning to leave a pattern behind. Maintain support to Apache. Continue building origin track over Hormuz. In the cockpit, Reeves feels a brief shift after the last intercept. Mercer is already tracking the next threat. The helicopter is still damaged. The water below is still unforgiving. The engagement is still active. But something has changed. The drones came hunting a single aircraft. Now they are being watched by an entire system. Mercer zooms in on the lower of the two remaining contacts. The image sharpens just enough to show it lining up for another pass. He steadies the sight. Two left. Then the warship cuts in again, voice even colder now. Apache, stand by. Weapons free if clear. By 5:17 a.m. local time, the airspace over the strait has shifted, not into safety, into a trap. Captain Reeves feels it before he says anything. The geometry is changing. For the first time since this began, they are no longer reacting a second behind every move. The calls from the ship are tightening the picture. The drone tracks are no longer just flashes and instinctive reactions. They are becoming predictable, measured, trackable, and that does not make them less dangerous. Burning debris skips across the surface of the strait and disappears into the wake. One destroyed, Mercer calls out sharply, but the words barely hang in the air before they lose meaning, because the final drone is already moving. It has watched everything. It has waited for the right moment. Now it dives, not from directly above, but from an offset angle. Smart. It comes in from the port side, descending in a way that forces the Apache into a bad choice. Drop closer to the water or rise into a clearer target profile. Reeves catches only a flicker at first. Mercer sees it fully a second later and feels it immediately. This one's different. He's right. The last drone doesn't rush. It shapes the approach. It holds just enough distance to stay outside an easy firing solution while steadily limiting the Apache's options. Reeves feels the earlier damage in every input. The helicopter still responds, but not cleanly, not perfectly. Time is tightening. Fuel is ticking down. Mechanical margins are shrinking. The warship has the track. But this final exchange is happening too low, too fast, too close for anyone else to guarantee a shot without risking the helicopter. The fight collapses back inward. Back to the cockpit. Mercer drags the sensor across the drone's path. The image shakes with vibration, glare, motion blur. The target flickers in and out. Gone, back, gone again. Reeves banks left, then right, forcing the drone to commit instead of hovering just outside the danger zone. The radio cuts in again. Apache maintained for 3 seconds. 3 seconds. In open sky, that's nothing. Here, it feels endless. Reeves locks his jaw and holds steady. 1 second. The drone closes. 2 seconds. Warning tones pulse through the cockpit, layered over engine roar and rotor thunder. 3 seconds. Mercer sees the angle open. There! He fires. The first burst slips just behind. Too much lead, too much motion. He corrects instantly and fires again. This time, the rounds hit head-on. The drone breaks apart mid-air at dangerously close range, erupting into a flash of orange-white light that floods the left side of the canopy. Fragments streak past the Apache. One piece slams against the fuselage. Another spins harmlessly into the sea. The helicopter jolts in the blast turbulence and punches through it, still flying, still level, still alive. For a moment, the cockpit is silent except for breathing. Then Mercer checks the sky again. Nothing behind, nothing above, no new contacts. The radio comes back, calm and controlled. Apache, threats appear neutralized. Reeves doesn't answer right away. His hands stay firm on the controls, eyes forward, making sure the aircraft is truly stable before giving those words any weight. Around them, the Strait of Hormuz feels strangely quiet. The ships are still moving, the sea is still shifting, the engines still roar, but the sudden absence of immediate danger feels almost unreal. 4 drones came for 1 helicopter. Now all 4 are gone. Mercer lowers the gun slightly, staring at the empty sensor feed where the last target had been seconds ago. Then another voice from the warship enters the net, more deliberate this time. We have probable launch origin. That changes everything. The Apache didn't just survive. It stayed in the fight long enough for the Navy to trace where the attack came from. At 5:21 a.m. local time, the first sign that it's over isn't silence. It's breathing. Inside the AH-64 Apache, the engines still run steady. The rotors continue their relentless rhythm. The warning panel still shows cautions that didn't exist 10 minutes ago, but the helicopter is flying, and that alone feels unlikely. Captain Reeves keeps both hands locked on the controls. Not relaxed, not yet. A machine that survives something like this can still fail on the way back. Mercer sweeps the sensor one more time across the pale sky and the shipping lane below. No fast movers, no low contacts, no new threats. Just merchant traffic, sea haze, and long white wakes cutting through the channel as if nothing happened. Skies clear. Only then does Reeves answer. Warship 01 Apache. Threats neutralized. Aircraft damaged. Request immediate recovery vector. The reply comes instantly. Apache, recovery vector follows. Maintain heading for 30 seconds. Then come right to 095. You are clear. Repeat. You are clear. It's the first moment all morning that leaves any room to breathe. But relief doesn't hit all at once. Fear arrives sharp and immediate. Relief comes slowly, through checklists, through systems, through confirmation after confirmation. Mercer scans the panels. One caution holds steady, another flickers out. Controls respond. Engines remain stable. Rotor RPM holds. The tail took stress. Fragments, maybe blast impact. But the aircraft is still answering every command. Reeves doesn't trust it yet. He respects it. That's different. Below them, the Strait of Hormuz stretches forward. Steel gray traffic against dark blue water. A tanker moves broadside through the channel, massive and indifferent. Farther out, the U.S. warship that built the air picture now sits like a fixed point in a widening response. Sensors are active. Radars are sweeping. Every system is awake. Low contact closing, Chief Warrant Officer Mercer says, his voice clipped behind the oxygen mask. High contact holding offset. 2 drones remain. One is aggressive, fully committed, still trying to finish what the swarm started. The other is controlled, patient, almost clinical in the way it hangs back, waiting for the helicopter to reveal a weakness. Reeves keeps the Apache low over the water, nose slightly down, speed high enough to preserve maneuver control, altitude low enough to stay buried in the glare and visual clutter of the sea. Off the right front quarter, a merchant ship looms into view, its steel hull turning part of the channel into a moving wall. Beyond it, heat haze and pale morning light flatten the distance and make every judgment harder. The lower drone makes the first move. It comes in from the Apache's 6 o'clock position, skimming over the water in a straight, disciplined line that leaves little room for doubt. This is not a feint, not a distraction. It is coming in to destroy. 6 low, fast, very fast. This time, Reeves does not break immediately. That is the difference. Earlier, every appearance of a threat forced him to react at once, giving up initiative simply to stay alive. Now he holds the line a fraction longer, trusting the wider tactical picture coming from the ship, trusting that someone else can see more than he can from inside a damaged cockpit only a few dozen feet above open water. The warship's voice cuts through the net. Hold heading, stand by. That order costs something, because the drone is closing so fast it no longer needs a sensor to be seen. Now it is a dark shape trembling above the waterline, growing larger every second. Mercer has the gun lined up and waiting, but the target is still outside the cleanest firing window. A bad shot will miss. A bad maneuver will expose them to the second drone, still hanging high and left. Stand by. The order comes again. Reeves holds. Every instinct in the cockpit is telling him to turn. The drone reaches the edge of lethal distance. Now! Reeves slams the Apache into a violent right brake, the rotor disc tilting hard enough to throw the horizon sideways across the canopy. In the same instant, Mercer fires. The M230 chain gun hammers beneath the nose, recoil driving through the airframe in short, brutal pulses. The burst cuts across the drone's projected path, not where it was a moment earlier, but where it is about to be. That is the difference between panic and training. For one suspended instant, the drone stays intact. Then the rounds hit. The fuselage bursts apart in flame and fragments, and the drone comes apart over the water just behind the helicopter. What began as one helicopter fighting for survival has now become something larger, because the Navy is no longer just watching the engagement, it is seeing through it. Inside the Combat Information Center, the drone attack is already being rebuilt in real time. Track histories are locked. Altitudes, headings, time gaps, approach arcs, and likely command link intervals are being layered across the map of the strait. The first drone came in low, the second descended from above. One held back long enough to shape the geometry. Another stayed wider out, likely relaying. None of it looks random anymore. Not now. The tactical picture has moved beyond survival and into attribution. A signals operator isolates a cluster of emissions tied to the moments before the first interception. Another analyst correlates the drone tracks with a narrow corridor leading back toward the Iranian side of the waterway. It is not courtroom evidence. It does not need to be. In combat, patterns matter, timing matters, origin matters, and the attackers have left all three. We have a probable launch corridor, one watchstander reports. Refine it, the tactical action officer says. No assumptions. Build the chain. That is how the U.S. Navy responds to a swarm attack, not with noise, with clarity. Back in the Apache, Mercer finally tears his eyes away from the sensor and glances down toward the cockpit floor, where the vibration has changed just enough to reveal how exhausted his legs have become. His gloves are dark with sweat. His jaw aches from being clenched too long. He looks out past the canopy and sees black scoring along the fuselage skin. Small marks left by fragments that came close enough to matter. Close enough to picture the other outcome. He says nothing. Neither does Reeves. There is nothing useful to say yet. The helicopter turns toward recovery. The water opens slightly ahead. The warship's vector is exact, guiding the damaged Apache toward the safest available approach path. Another American aircraft is now overhead at a distance, not because the fight is still active, but because once a swarm attack reveals itself, nobody assumes that was the only move planned for the morning. The Apache descends slowly, carefully. No heroics, no dramatic finish, just procedure. That is what makes it feel real. When the landing comes, it is harder than usual, but controlled. Wheels touch, weight settles, rotor wash blasts outward across the deck. Ground crews move immediately, fast, disciplined, but no one runs blindly toward a combat aircraft that has just returned from a live engagement. The engines spool down in stages. The blades begin to slow. The cockpit opens. Only then do Reeves and Mercer step out. They do not climb down like victors. They step down like men who understand exactly how close they came. Maintenance teams are already circling the helicopter, checking tail surfaces, fuselage scoring, sensor housing damage, and the aft quarter where the nearest blast may have bitten into the airframe. Every mark tells part of the story. Composite scratches, shrapnel pitting, heat discoloration. Nothing dramatic enough for headlines. More than enough for the debrief. Inside the ship, the meaning of the encounter is becoming clear. 4 hostile drones destroyed. 1 American helicopter damaged but recovered. Crew alive. Sensor recordings intact. Radio traffic preserved. Electronic traces captured. A probable launch corridor identified. What the attackers meant to be a fast kill in a narrow channel has instead exposed their methods, their timing, and likely their launch logic to a force built to study exactly that. And that is the part they did not account for. They planned the attack. They did not plan for survival. They did not plan for the data trail. They did not plan for a damaged American aircraft to stay in the fight long enough for the entire system around it to wake up and start seeing. By the time the sun rises higher over Hormuz, the water looks calm again. Merchant ships continue on their routes. The radios sound ordinary. The helicopter sits on deck, scarred but intact. And somewhere beyond the visible horizon, the people who launched those drones are left with a harder truth than the one they started with. They did not bring down the Apache. They showed the Navy exactly where to look.